Okay, it's time for Jerry and the Goddesses Part 15. This one has no trigger warnings, but it does have a subtitle, which is An Apology to Miss Bechtel. If you know what the Bechtel test is, you'll understand that this is the very first part in which this story actually manages to pass it. Okay, so here we go. Inanna crouched at the corner of the roof, eyeing her latest target through the Trijicon AccuPoint, the magnification dialed up to 12.5. He looked the part, muscular, his arms covered in tattoos. The black muscle shirt and black tactical pants and boots were more in her bailiwick, though, so she wasn't entirely sure. What do you think? Sarissa peered down using her eyes, which were more than up to the task. Inanna's were as well, but she liked using the optics. I can't be sure, but I don't think so. He's got memories of the last week or so, quite clear except for a few hours here and there where he'd been drinking. Others have memories of him at those times, so unless Asteram is edged in on my domain, it's not likely. Inanna sighed, lowering her rifle. Can you explain to me again why you are unsure about this? Sarissa shrugged, then rubbed the bridge of her nose with two fingers. Today had been a very trying day. Gary had answered the phone right away, as she expected when she called him on his latest contract burner. When she explained the situation, he hadn't asked any questions, just agreed to help and shown up at Jerry's apartment a few hours later, toting a giant bag of guns and assorted combat gear. Right now, they were at a gun range out west, with Gary showing Jerry around an assault rifle. Jerry was actually pretty good with it, but compared to Gary, he still felt like a loser. Stars and stones, that boy's self-confidence would be the death of them all. Ixtlablatl was lurking somewhere nearby, instinctively aware of the threat and on guard. Sarissa could almost feel the primordial being's determination to protect his adopted master. It was so strong. After a moment's reflection, she answered her sister. Asteram's portfolio includes ignorance. I'm not sure where he got the power for it, given the state of the world, but he's still able to project some onto me, at least as far as his activities go. I'm working against it, but I still haven't got the strength to overwhelm him in aspects so close to him. I'll get through eventually, but it might take a few years. Years we really don't have, Inanna added. Sarissa nodded. Time to move on to the next one. They both vanished from the roof in a puff of detailed knowledge about all things loving and sensual, and war, because they had already gone to war, even if Asteram was not yet aware of it. The barest quantum fraction of a second later, they were crouched in a forest, eyeing an underpass. They were not quite in Langley proper, but close enough to it. This one was one of the more promising leads, Nicholas Buford, a man with dissociative identity disorder, antisocial personality disorder, and a history of violence. Currently homeless, he had been camping in the underpass for a few weeks. A missing woman from Pimmet Hills had last been seen at St. Luke's Church, just a few blocks up the road. They watched cars pass for 20 minutes until Sarissa confirmed there was no one under the underpass. The fact that it took this long is a good sign, she told Inanna. It means we're edging close to matters that concern him. In a blink, the two nude women had transformed into a pair of policewomen. Letting the mortals see them would be of some benefit, as their lines of sight and thoughts about what two policemen women were doing up there would be out of Asteram's reach, and well within Sarissa's. They walked into the underpass and up the sides of the concrete swale to the flat area at the top, where there was just enough room to stand between the concrete supports of the overpass. Dried blood, Inanna noted, a lot of it. Sarissa knelt down and touched the dark patches. These are from the missing woman, Melissa Cartwright. Inanna growled. Her domain included more kinds of love than just the romantic sort. Melissa had children and was a good mother, and she had loved her husband as well. Sarissa recognized that tone and almost felt sorry for whoever did this. Any more traces? Inanna asked. Sarissa looked around. Skin cells from two people, Nick and Melissa. Signs of a minor struggle, like a bound person resisting an assault. I think this is it. Melissa would have made a perfect sacrifice for Asteram. So where's Nicky Boy then? Inanna peered out into the sunlight. Her rifle was still there, slung on her back, and in her hands she held what looked to be a typical police officer's service weapon, but was actually a Glock 18 automatic pistol. She wasn't in the mood to play around with whatever changes Asteram had made to his new worshipper. Not a clue, which is the best clue of all, Sarissa said. I'm scanning the people nearby in an expanding circle. Somebody with no knowledge of Asteram had to have seen him. She crouched down again and stared off into space, her efforts against Asteram taking some actual effort. After a moment, she straightened. Nothing on his current location, but one of the locals saw something specific and suspicious. I think I know where Melissa's body is. Come on. They left the underpass and walked up Georgetown into the nature preserve. Just inside the property line, they found a mound of dirt, the remains of a shallow grave. Sarissa placed a hand on the mound, then nodded sadly. It's her. Inanna looked around suspiciously, her lips twisted in disgust. I'm gonna choke this fucker to death with his own junk, and not until after I've peeled every inch of skin off of him. We need to find him first. I've put some knowledge of the smell into the busybody who lives right there. Sarissa pointed to one of the adjacent properties. She'll be out here to poke around, and she'll call the police. At least the family will get some closure. You have any connection to her soul? Her eulogy will be all about how much she loved her family. Inanna looked inward for a moment, then shook her head. Nothing. This has to be Asteram. I'd at least have a hint of her unless she was some kind of secret psychopath. Nope, Sarissa said sadly. She was exactly what she appeared. She froze suddenly. What is it? Inanna asked. I've got him. Nick. He's in Haymarket. He's looking for Jerry, and I think he's armed. Shit, Inanna said. Let's go. The end.